I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times. It's Wednesday, October the 14th. Last night, 15 million American people tuned in to CNN to watch the first Democratic presidential debate. That was a record by far for a Democratic debate, if not approaching the numbers that have watched the Republican debates featuring the circus barker Donald Trump. The consensus of commentary seems to be pretty clear. Hillary Clinton won the debate last night. She displayed a good temperament, a good personality, and a broad command of virtually every issue, and turned away some tough questions on things like her changes in policy and her vote against the war and other difficult matters. Other candidates did well. I actually thought that it was a win for the Democratic Party generally. We had 5 candidates, a couple of whom will not go very far, who nonetheless presented themselves as mature, knowledgeable adults, talking on deep issues. As somebody remarked, we talked about college student credit, we talked about guns, talked about trade policy, talked about the Glass-Steagall Act. It was a marked departure from the sniping and personal attacks that we've seen in some of the Republican debates. I like, too, the fact that there wasn't a single candidate on the stage who was afraid to take on the National Rifle Association. There was a strong discussion about things to be done about guns and violence with guns in American society. That's something you'll never hear done on an Arkansas political stage, I don't believe. There seemed to be a positive message. None of the candidates attacked Hillary Clinton on the media story of the day, the great email server controversy. I think they want to focus, as Bernie Sanders said, on other things, not on those damn emails. There certainly was broad approval of that among Democratic voters. It's a winning strategy in the primary for sure. It might carry into the general election an air of gridlock, that to have a party that's talking about doing things for the people rather than finding something to criticize about somebody else. Back in Little Rock today, Circuit Judge Chris Piazza awarded $66,000 in fees and expenses in total to 2 lawyers, Jack Wagner and Cheryl Maples, who successfully brought the lawsuit that brought down the state's ban on same-sex marriage. I thought the award was a little bit low. Cheryl Maples certainly did. In a tearful interview with David Kuhn after the decision, she talked to him about how she devoted almost 3 years of her life to this case at great personal cost to herself. I thought the award might be a little bit higher. There's still a request pending in federal court for a separate and distinct case that also brought down the ban in federal court, but this was going to be the big payday. They'd sought, 5 times this amount and got a pittance. The state will have to pay this money. I think the state will accept this low fee. Back on the presidential front for a minute, Mike Huckabee last night, whose presidential campaign is in the dumper, tried last night to win some attention by matching Donald Trump tweet for tweet on Twitter. Most of it was empty snark, not very funny. He made a remark about North Koreans eating dog that was taken widely as a racist remark. He defended in any event, but by and large, he looked like a desperate candidate, desperate to say anything to get some attention. Today in Iowa, he said, if Donald Trump will build 1 border fence, I'll build 2. I think it's probably time for Mike Huckabee to go home. Certainly results in Arkansas bear that out. There was a straw poll this week by the Saline County Republicans at their Reagan Day dinner. Mike Huckabee finished a poor 4th, and this is a county where his sister lives, where other relatives live, where there are a lot of people, including a former state Republican Party chairman, lives, and they owe jobs to Huckabee. He couldn't muster better than 11% vote in Saline County, Arkansas. I don't think the outlook is good for him in Arkansas in general. Marco Rubio, by the way, led that straw balloting with about 1/4 of the vote. Interesting story today on Al Jazeera America, a comprehensive look at the number of lawsuits filed by prisoners in jails and prisons in Arkansas. Far more than in other states, many of them about medical conditions, which seem to be abysmal in several places. We spend less on medical care for inmates, don't seem to care about them much. There's some gruesome stories there. I'd recommend you reading. You can find it on the Arkansas blog. Late last night, State Education Commissioner Johnny Key had to admit what I'd made clear in the morning. The state fudged how it presented the scores by state school students on the last round of proficiency tests. It made it appear that students were achieving the necessary advancement at about a 60% rate. The truth is more like 30%. They first tried to defend how they put it late last night after an outpouring of complaints from a variety of sources, not just me. Key said, well, yes, our news release was an error. I think they intentionally tried to play down the fact that only 1/3 of Arkansas students are achieving, at least according to the measure of this test. I will again say slavish devotion to test scores is probably misplaced when we're evaluating education. Another little piece of political news, Connor Eldridge, a Democrat, former U.S. attorney, is going to announce his candidacy for U.S. Senate at a family business on Augusta this Saturday. He's going to try and find a middle ground to oppose Republican John Bozeman. And finally, a word about thuggery. Representative Bob Ballinger, a Republican from North Arkansas, is working to make sure that the state AFL-CIO loses a $150,000 contract to work with workers at a state agency. It's had this contract for years. Nobody's ever said they did a thing wrong. Ballinger says, well, he's heard that unions have been guilty of some thuggery in other states, and that's enough to take money away from people here who he admits have done nothing wrong. This is much like the Planned Parenthood matter, where a clinic in another state, California, gets some money to do legal fetal tissue transfers, and on that ground alone, Arkansas is trying to deprive Planned Parenthood clinics in Arkansas of Medicaid business simply because they don't like what they do. By that same token, if they find newspapers they don't like, they cancel their advertising. I think it does raise a question Bob Ballinger posed yesterday, just exactly who are the thugs in this picture and who are not. I know who I am. I'm Max Brantley. I'm done for today. I'll be back tomorrow.
You feel it in your heart, the spirit of Little Rock. We've had that spirit since 1927, helping build our city by producing decades of leaders in the heart of our state. We are the heart of business and innovation, the heart of politics and government, the heart of arts and culture, and in our city beats the heart of a Trojan. UALR, we are Little Rock's team and Little Rock's University.